ਮੈਂ ਜਸਵੀਰ ਭੋਗਲ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰ ਫਿਰ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਅੱਗੇ ਹਾਜ਼ਰ ਹਾਂ। ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਕਰਦਾ ਮੈਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਵਿਜ਼ਨ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਟੀਵੀ ਦੇ ਦਰਸ਼ਕਾਂ ਦਾ। ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਇਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਰੋਸਮੀਅਰ ਕਨਸਟੀਟੂਐਂਸੀ ਦੇ ਐਨਡੀਪੀ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਐਂਡੀ ਰਗੇਰ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ। Andy, welcome to the studio.
Well, thanks for having me on your program.
So, the elections are very near. I think it's 10th of September, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So, and a year earlier as well.
Yes, it's coming up really quickly.
So, did it help you guys, or was it blow in the dark sort of a thing?
Well, you know, I mean, what's pretty clear is that the Premier, Brian Pallister, wants to try and catch people off guard by calling an early election in the middle of summer when he feels that people aren't paying attention. But, you know, in my opinion...
The people might not even be there to vote, you know, they might be out with their family in summer.
Well, we'll do our best to get them back into town, get them back from the cottage to vote. But, you know, for us in northeast Winnipeg and the people of Rossmere, what I've heard is that they're eager to send a message to Brian Pallister that, you know, his cuts have gone too far, too fast and too deep. And that they're eager to go out and vote against Brian Pallister. So that's what I'm hearing.
So that's what you're getting. So you must be doing all that door-to-door knocking.
Yes.
You must be hearing a lot of problems that people want to share with you and people want the government to hear.
Absolutely, yeah.
What are all those problems, what you could gather? And what you're going to put in your bag and take it to the assembly if you win.
Right. Well, that's the most important part, right?
Yeah.
And so, I've been out... talking to the constituents in northeast Winnipeg and Rossmere for the last couple months. And now I'm full-time on the campaign, knocking doors every day. And what I'm hearing loud and clear is healthcare is the number one priority of Manitobans. And over the last 3.5 years since the Conservatives took power, they've taken drastic steps and drastic moves to change healthcare, including closing emergency rooms, cutting quick care clinics. There's fewer nurses working, and that's what I'm hearing at the doorstep a lot, is healthcare. And the second big issue that I'm hearing is education, and particularly class sizes. And I think the fear that once the Premier is done with healthcare and making his big changes there, that he'll focus on education next. And that's the fear out there.
Well, they say don't mend it if it's not broken, right?
That's right.
So what all things do you think are not broken, but Premier is trying to mend it his own way?
Yeah. Well, I mean, in healthcare, you know, I think there's always improvements that can be made in healthcare. It's difficult to provide services for a lot of people in this province, but I don't think the answer is cutting. I don't think Manitobans voted for Brian Pallister to cut healthcare. And so I think we need to, you know, put some calm back in the system, stop the chaos, and let nurses and doctors and healthcare aides, people working in healthcare, to breathe and reset and focus on giving, you know, the quality patient care to Manitobans that we deserve and that we pay for. So.
But you have a certain perspective to some of the topics. You've been a policy analyst before joining the politics.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So I live in northeast Winnipeg. I live in Rossmere with my wife and our young daughter. She's just over 10 months old now.
Oh wow.
So yeah, she's pretty new. And I entered politics actually because of the closure at Concordia, the closure of Concordia Emergency Room. I started a coalition 2.5 years ago that is called the Save the Concordia ER Coalition. And we've been out in the community petitioning the health minister, petitioning the local MLA, getting constituents to call the Premier, to call the health minister, to try and get them to rethink the closure at Concordia. And through that process, it was pretty disappointing to see, you know, how quiet the local MLA was when it came to the changes in healthcare. And so, when the chance came to run in this election, I was like, well, I'm going to take them on. You know, I've been working hard at this now, and if we need someone to speak up for the community, then I'm there to do that. And so that's the big reason why I'm running.
So basically, the closure of the ERs that triggered
Yes.
Your want to
Yeah.
get into politics.
That's
and
right.
everything.
Yeah.
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 Okay, so we talked about the elections being preponed now.
Yeah.
They were supposed to be next year.
Yep.
They are now being held on 10th of September
That's right.
this year,
Yep.
a year earlier. But then again, to bring the people on his side, Premier, he announced PST cut of 1%,
That's right.
claiming that this will help help make the livelihood, the lifestyle of the people better.
Right.
Right. But then again, it's also gonna come at a price. It's gonna cost about $325 million
Mm-hmm.
to the province, and that's a clear deficit that experts say
Mhm.
that is gonna be there.
Yeah.
So, what are your plans gonna be? So, are you gonna take back the cut and just make it again, the PST again 8%, or you have some other things in mind that you could use to cover that deficit?
I mean, our plan is fully costed.
Mhm.
Our the promises that we're making, and that includes keeping the taxes where they are for the average Manitoban.
Mhm.
One thing that we propose in our platform is increasing taxes on people making over $250,000 a year, and that is part of the the revenue that'll help pay for some of the promises that we're making in the platform. But our main priority is keeping life affordable for Manitoba families.
So you don't think that this cutback of 1% was candy to the voters for getting elected again?
Well, I think for some people it might have been, but I think people right now, what I'm hearing, they're more concerned about the services that they're losing.
Mhm.
So the impact on healthcare, the impact in education, the tuition.
Of course, if the saving comes at such a price,
Yeah.
nobody wants it, right?
Right. Well, I mean, people.
Nobody wants to save about $200-300 a year, and then face cutback on the facilities, on the basic dire needs that they have.
Right. I mean, we want to make sure there's quality education, there's quality healthcare there for Manitobans, and we have a plan to put that in place and make sure that patient care is there in the community, and that kids have a bright future with class sizes and one-on-one time with teachers that help them get there.
So we're talking about the class sizes and stuff. There's like K-12 review that's been going
That's
on.
right.
Right? And the government wants to amalgamate maybe all the school divisions into one,
Yeah.
or maybe two. What do you think? Is it a good idea, or what's your, or maybe, or I should say, NDP's take on this?
Yeah, I mean, the review is happening. It happened before the election when the Premier announced the review. He brought in an old cabinet minister from the 90s, someone who was well known to be cutting education back in the 90s.
Mhm.
So he brought him back now. It's like a blast from the past.
Okay.
Same old ideas. Mr. Manis, I believe is his name. And the concern out there is that he's just going to start cutting in education the same as he has in healthcare. And what we've put forward is putting the cap back on K-3 class sizes to make sure that kids in their early years get the most one-on-one time with teachers as possible. And I think that's really important.
Then won't you need more classes then?
We will, yeah.
Yeah. So and then you would need more teachers as well?
We have a plan out there for making sure that the resources are in the classroom in place, including educational assistance.
But then again, some school divisions, they are big, they are rich.
They sure are.
Some other school divisions, they don't have that much money
Yeah.
to provide those many facilities to the students, which is richer school divisions could provide. So if all the school divisions, they're amalgamated, so there'll be like a single funding that'll be going to the school division, so that might help bringing that disparity to end. Don't you think so?
I think amalgamation is a bit of a distraction right now from what the most important part of education is, and that is students getting the most time with their teacher.
Mhm.
The Premier just like he did in healthcare, where he mixed everything up and made massive changes. I think that's a distraction from what we need, which is good quality patient care at the bedside. And in the classroom and education, we need good quality education in the classroom. And so, he has brought in someone from Nova Scotia to write this report. And what we're hearing from teachers when I'm knocking on their doors, and I've talked to several in the last week, is that they're fearful that what happened in Nova Scotia is going to happen here.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
what was the scenario there?
Well, they amalgamated all the school divisions together
and what happened
mashed
there?
everything up. And what ended up is they ended up cutting teachers and services at the front line. That was the end result.
Okay.
And they're fearful of
So
that.
they thought that they could move around a single teacher all over the city. And
That's a fear that is out there, yeah. But we'll see how that all,
Okay, then again, NDP proudly projects itself to be a party of the working class.
Yes.
And there's been freeze on the Crown Corp employee wages.
Mm-hmm.
What's your take on that? What would you do about if NDP comes into power?
Yeah. Well, so I grew up in a working class family. My dad immigrated to Canada when he was 25.
Mm-hmm.
Raised 6 kids here, working in a factory. And when we were all school age, when all 6 of us had got into kindergarten or grade 1, my mom went back to work as a healthcare aide,
Mm-hmm.
working in home care.
Mm-hmm.
And so public services is important to me because I saw the pride that my mom had when she was providing services to seniors.
Yeah.
And in the 90s, they tried privatizing home care at the time and laying off my mom, firing her from her job,
Mm-hmm.
and then trying to rehire her for a lower wage and fewer benefits.
Uh-huh.
So I always remember that. And so now today, when the Conservatives are back in power, I'm seeing them trying the same old tricks,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so we see some privatization happening again in healthcare and in home care. And the way they treat workers and the people providing services just isn't fair. And so what we're proposing is that workers have the right to bargain fairly and collectively with the government. And right now they're just stalling that process and imposing wage freezes. We think that should be something that's negotiated at the table between the two parties, not just imposed on the workers.
So this issue is very close to your heart, I would say.
It is, yes.
Alrighty,
Yeah.
we'll talk about some more issues after this break.
Great.
ਹੁਣ ਵੇਲਾ ਜੀ ਇੱਕ ਬ੍ਰੇਕ ਲੈਣ ਦਾ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਇਸ ਬ੍ਰੇਕ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਐਂਡੀ ਰੇਗੇਰ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੁਝ ਹੋਰ ਇਸ਼ੂਸ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਬ੍ਰੇਕ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰ ਫਿਰ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਹੈ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਰੌਸਮੀਅਰ ਕਨਸਟੀਟੂਐਂਸੀ ਤੋਂ ਐਨਡੀਪੀ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਐਂਡੀ ਰੇਗੇਰ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ So Andy, we were talking about wage freeze on the Crown Corporation employees, but then again there are also talks going on about privatization of MPI and also Manitoba Liquor and Lottery.
Yeah.
So what do you think it will affect the general public in general, I would say?
Right. Well, privatization, I mean, it's been a failed experiment wherever it's been tried. It's sold to people saying that it'll save you money or whatever the argument of the day is. But at the end of the day, services go down and cost goes up. That seems to be the common thing when we talk about privatization. And so when we talk about MPI in particular, we're most concerned about keeping auto rates affordable.
Yeah.
Right? Auto insurance affordable. And MPI has been quite effective at keeping rates pretty steady.
I would say we
over
have
the
the
last
cheapest
couple
rates in all over Canada.
We
I
do.
would say.
Yeah. according to Deloitte.
So why
and
to
Touche,
mend which is not broken?
I agree. I definitely think that MPI needs to stay public because they operate in a way that's best for everyone, and that means keeping insurance rates low. Yeah.
But then again, when they talk about privatizing Manitoba liquor and lottery, then the people are of the view that liquor prices are much cheaper in other provinces than Manitoba. So what do you say about that?
Yeah, I think there's a bit of a myth around that. That liquor is so much cheaper. I mean, it depends on which brand or which type of liquor. But the most important part about the public model when it comes to like liquor marts, which are the public stores, is that the revenue that's generated goes right back into services, right? So it's $300 million a year that goes back into funding education, goes back into funding healthcare, and goes back into funding infrastructure and roads, things like that.
So I mean, when it's privatized, they could have more stores and they could generate more revenue. Is that the case?
Well, the revenue then would go into the pockets of the private corporation and not into general revenue of the government to fund services. So that's the key difference in my mind.
Okay, so we talked about liquor. Let's go to the drug addiction, which is a very serious issue right now. Yeah. Drug addiction that's been going on, meth crisis as well, and then again, increase in the violent crime rate.
Yeah,
so
it's a huge
drug
issue.
addiction basically, in many cases, leads to violent crimes as well. So they are both interrelated. Drug addiction does NDP has something in its mind or in their agenda to do about the drug addiction problem?
Yeah, absolutely. Our leader's been out already. He was out in front of the Main Street Project, a social service agency downtown. He was out front and he made an announcement that we will be opening up more beds for people specifically struggling with meth addiction. But the crisis goes beyond just meth. I mean, there's an addictions crisis beyond just meth, but that is the drug of choice right now. So we feel that prevention is a big part of it, including giving people the services
and also the education that
right.
they know that it's deadly.
That's right. So getting out there and being more aggressive. As of right now, the provincial government under Brian Pallister has been pretty much absent on this issue, and we're not quite sure why, but we think that the province is in a good position to take action, to work with our municipal partners, to work with the federal government, and to bring resources from the province, to bring those groups together, to come up with a comprehensive plan to deal with the addictions crisis in Manitoba.
And the addiction crisis also deprives the province, I would say, of the young workforce. And we talk about young workforce. We also talk about the potential young workforce that comes to Manitoba in the shape of foreign students.
Yeah.
So foreign students, they come in. Not long ago, they used to have free medical when they came in, but now that facility has been cut down, and now they have to look up to their colleges for the group insurance plans. They have to pay more to get the same benefit.
Yeah.
Does NDP government has something in mind regarding that problem?
I think it speaks to the character of the Pallister government, where they think that someone that comes here pays twice the tuition. Right?
Yeah, of course, they have to pay twice or thrice the
That's
tuition
right.
fee.
Comes here, contributes to the economy, number two, but more importantly, often stays here and becomes a citizen and becomes a member of our community, and that's how we treat them. I think it really speaks to the character of the Pallister government that's a benefit that that's one of the first things they decided to cut back on. Yeah. And then they decided to raise tuition rates on top
That's
of it.
also been increasing. I think lifted the cap
That's
on
right.
tuition fee as well, and the universities are increasing the tuition fee rates, I think 5% every year, and that's also making expensive. It's getting more expensive for the foreign students who have to pay twice or thrice the regular fee.
That's right. So I went to university right out of high school, and I had to take out a student loan to afford it because, like I said, I didn't have the help that some students have from home. And so, it wasn't that long ago that I was in university, and I know how much the cost was and the burden that it put on me as I was trying to, buy a house, start a family after university, get a job. And having that debt hang over you it's stressful, and it keeps you back years from fully getting involved in the economy, right? And so that issue is close to me, and taking the cap off, I think it was 6.75% last year, and this year 3.75 or something like that.
That's the increase.
That tuition went up every year. And not to mention the fees, which are also deregulated on top of that.
And the foreign students also have to look for accommodation. Of course, a lot of the Manitoba residents, they also have to look for the accommodation. But then again, they are sort of accustomed to this thing from the very beginning. But foreign students who come in, they have different ideas, they have different dreams. Right. But when they have to, take care of their tuition fee, then the medical expenses, and then accommodation, and their daily needs. It's too much to I think take in at one point in time, and that's why they might start hesitating coming to Manitoba, and that is the foreign students are an indirect form of migration. Which is much easier, and it starts bringing in something with it from the very get-go. And that is, I think, it's a repelling factor right now for the foreign students. So they are looking elsewhere to other provinces to start their foreign education rather than coming to Manitoba.
Right. I think one of the draws for Manitoba was that our tuition was really affordable, and that housing was, comparative to other big cities, is affordable. But I think we're seeing that benefit and that advantage, going away, including the medical insurance piece.
Some parties, I would say, they straight away deny the impact at the global warming and stuff, the impact on the environment of the man-made, I would say, problems. The man that creates the pollution and stuff. They're not into global warming thing. They straight away deny the existence of global warming. But some parties are really into it. They're taking it very seriously, especially the Liberal government. They introduced carbon tax. So carbon tax. So they'll be charging a little more, but they're also putting a little more money into the citizens, into the residents' pockets. What's NDP's take on this environmental issue and the global warming?
So the environment is it's all we have, and we only get one Earth, and we have to take care of it. I, as much as anyone else, likes going hiking. I've been out canoeing. People like to go camping. Manitoba has an abundance of lakes and fresh water, and fishing is something people enjoy, and it's a big tourist attraction. And so we really have to take care of our planet, and we have to step up our game, because time is running out. Climate change is real, and like I said, I have a 10-month-old daughter, and I want to leave the world in a place where she can live, right? And so our plan includes making sure that we have a good habitat to live in, and that includes putting a price on big polluters, putting a price on pollution for big polluters, but making sure that a life is affordable for Manitoba families at the same time.
I believe the Manitoba government was the last one to join this initiative of the federal government regarding the protection of the environment and stuff. So if NDP comes into play, of course it's a federal issue this is being funded by federal government, but then again provinces also have their say if they want to join this plan, and to what extent. So I must take that NDP is very much interested in protecting the environment, and they take the global warming very seriously.
Absolutely. You know, the Premier has spent a lot of time and a lot of money suing the federal government, when I think he should have been working collaboratively with them and making sure that measures are put in place, you know, to have good transit, to have good infrastructure, to make sure that business or public buildings are retrofitted and that are, you know, operate efficiently, and to make sure that Manitoba Hydro is on a good footing, because it's the clean energy that we all depend on. And we want to make sure that, that those things are in place for all Manitobans.
So what's the ideology that NDP is going with, going in these elections with? And what's your personal take on that ideology?
Yeah. Well, for me, it's common sense. It's about making sure that people have good jobs, that there's good work out there, that keeps people here, so that people can feed their families and live a good life, a good healthy life. And a big part of that is making sure that services are there for them when they need them. So, you know, building for the future, good jobs for the future include good education, good healthcare to keep people healthy. And
so does NDP government has some blueprint about generating employment, bringing in industries into the province and stuff?
Well, job creation is really important for us, and one of the things that we put in our platform is bringing together, you know, representatives from the tech sector, bringing together people from government, from business, and academia together to talk about jobs for the future, and what.
We'll just be talking, or we'll be doing something as well, because a lot of money goes into consultation. Right. Sometimes the cost of the consultation is more than the project itself.
Yeah. Well, right now, you know, I don't know what the future of work is going to look like with automation and with all these rapid changes happening in the economy. And so getting people that know what's going on, businesses that are working in these sectors who have firsthand knowledge, I think it's important to bring them together and talk about, you know, how we can educate workers and how we can create the conditions where our economy can grow. Yeah.
All right. So before we wrap up today's episode, do you want to say something to your constituents in the end?
Yeah. So my name is Andy Regier, and I'm running to be the MLA in the constituency of Rossmere. And my big two priorities in the upcoming election for September 10th is healthcare and education. And I look forward to meeting you on the doorsteps.
Thank you so much, Andy, for joining us in the studio, and all the very best to you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਸੀ ਐਂਡੀ ਰਗੇਰ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ MLA ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ NDP ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੇ ਰੌਸਮੀਅਰ ਕਨਸਟੀਟੂਐਂਸੀ ਵਿਨੀਪੈਗ ਦੀ ਤੋਂ। ਅਸੀਂ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟਸ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਮੁਲਾਕਾਤ ਕਰਾਉਂਦੇ ਰਵਾਂਗੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਇਸ ਸਿਲਸਿਲੇ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲ ਦੇ ਤਹਿਤ। ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਜਸਬੀਰ ਭੋਗਲ ਨੂੰ ਦਿਓ ਇਜਾਜ਼ਤ। ਸ਼ੁਕਰੀਆ।